Hello everyone, my name is Jesse, and welcome back to a kind of part 2 of a previous video I did. This is about buying Bakugan in 2022. So to preface this, if you have not seen the original video, which I posted about a year ago, it's called Buying Bakugan in 2021. I highly recommend you watch that first before going into this video, because pretty much everything I explain in that video is going to tie into today's episode. So go watch that video. There will be a little icon right here you can click to go watch it right now. It'll also be a link in the description, but watch that video and then come to this one. So I want to start this video by saying that Bakugan and the way we buy them is kind of changing. In my opinion, this is due to a surplus of people wanting to collect now. Things have definitely changed over the last year from what I've noticed, from what people I've talked to have noticed, my friends have said. Everything about it's kind of changing. So how is it changing, right? So because people have been collecting Bakugan for like over a year now, what's happening is the supply is running low and the demand is running high. So what that means is you're going to see an increase in price, right? It's just kind of basic economic stuff. It makes sense. The less you have of something, the more expensive it gets, right? So this is why you might see, Preyas, for example, that I showed in the last video. Preyas used to be around $60 to $70. You may see him jump to about $80 because people like Preyas. They've bought Preyas and there are less Preyas available. So that's kind of the gist of what's happening as like the year goes on. We had so many people get into Bakugan collecting that the prices went up a little bit, right? So that's happening, but that's not the main issue here. So what I mean by changing is the sellers seem to have been changing. And I'm going to start throwing up some random images on screen here of like examples, but I want us to talk about price gouging. So what price gouging is essentially the seller is selling, for example, a Bakugan for a very high price that it's not worth in the market. Okay. I also want to add on to this before I start going into specific sellers' pricing and all that you can sell a Bakugan for whatever you want and you can buy a Bakugan for whatever you want. These are just specific examples that I have seen of Bakugan that are overpriced in the current market. So let's look at an actual really good example of this. So we have this Skyrus, this B1 Ventus Skyrus, right? So this person is selling this Skyrus for $300 plus $50 in shipping. And this is happening everywhere. You'll see Bakugan being sold for thousands of dollars when they're not worth that price. Skyrus here is maybe worth $60, maybe. 70, is pushing it, but not worth $300. This lot of vintage Bakugan going for $100. These guys combined are maybe worth $30, $40, if I'm being generous. And what I've encountered and what other people have told me, just conversations trying to develop a script for this video, is that this is happening, this is eBay examples, which are rarer. In my opinion, eBay is safer. It seems to be a more generalized price because eBay kind of sets that price for you by giving you a recommendation, as well as if the listing is up for months, no one's obviously going to buy it because it's too much. But where I've encountered this really bad is on Discord sites. So Discord selling sites for Bakugan. You'll get sellers trying to sell you something for way more than it's worth, like the Subterra Cycloid for 400 or 450. That's never gonna sell. No one's gonna want to spend that much money on a Bakugan. And I mean, you're getting people with sealed Bakugan for going for $1,200, and it doesn't. No one's going to want to buy just a Mechanium Surge sealed pack. Number one, no one wants to spend that much money on a sealed set, I think, personally. And this isn't to say you can't buy and spend your money however you want, but if you're trying to get a good deal or you're trying to save money, I think being aware of price gouging is incredibly useful. And so I became very aware of this when someone called me out on Reddit I posted some Bakugan, and he was like, "Oh, you bought these from this seller for $500 something or whatever," and I didn't. These Bakugan I had months before, before like whatever listing he's talking about was probably even up. And he just automatically accused me of enabling the seller by buying this Bakugan way overpriced from him, which wasn't true. But that just kind of, told me that more people in the community are aware of this. And that price gouging is becoming very rampant. And I think the reason we're seeing this is because as the year went on, so like let's talk about from last year to this year. So from my first video to this video, more people bought Bakugan, and so the prices went up a little bit on certain Bakugan, the more in-demand Bakugan, like the main character Bakugan or specific rare Bakugan, right? But I think what ended up backfiring is that sellers were like, oh, the price of every Bakugan is going up. When in reality, they were only running out of certain Bakugan, but they increased their prices on everything, which is where I think things went really wrong. And you can, take random look-throughs through different Discord websites selling Bakugan on eBay and Mercari, and you'll see this kind of thing happening. You'll see lots of Bakugan for way, way, way more than they're worth. Anyways, I think that's the issue here, and I think it's important to be aware that yes, the price of Bakugan have gone up. Some of them by, $10 or $20, some of them by a little bit more, but in general, the Bakugan that are like less sought after are still going to be around the same price. And there's no reason that they should be this much. Another thing is that some of these, I see some of these Bakugan for like for instance, this Sonic, what is this thing? The Sonic Boom or the Sonic Cannon or whatever it is, the titanium Dragonoid Baku Nano. Like this thing's online going for $60. That thing's smaller than my pinky is. And I just think that like when there's a piece of plastic that small, isn't really worth it for $60. I can fill up my gas tank now with $60. Like, do I want something that's smaller than my pinky to go on the back of my titanium Dragonoid, or do I want to fill my gas tank for the week? And that's where I think, a line has to be drawn. It's just kind of sad to see all of these things get jacked up in price. Another example is this Max's Dragonoid going for $150. $20 in shipping. That's kind of ridiculous when they go for like $40 to $50. You can get lucky and find one for like $35. Even the cards in this are not in great condition. So anyways, my advice to you is to be aware of price gouging. Learn to identify sellers who are trying to price gouge. Use the tools that I showed in the first video to get a general idea of how much a Bakugan is going to cost, and use that to your advantage when talking to sellers and trying to make a deal. Because it seems to me that a lot of sellers nowadays just assume most Bakugan have all jacked up in price, and that's usually not the case. I think if we're going to keep the Bakugan community going for a long period of time, something about the price of Bakugan needs to change. Or at least the way that we go about it, because there's no reason that a lot of like 6 Bakugan that aren't even rare should be going for $50 to $100. And of course there are some Bakugan that are way, way, way more expensive than, certain lots. For example, like a Mercury Dragonoid or certain Helios Bakugan. These really rare main character sought after Bakugan, of course they're going to go for much more. And the market will depend on that, because if there's a high demand for them but low supply, of course they're going to be more. But it's when you get sellers trying to jack up a price or do something that's way out of what the market value price is for this time is when there's an issue. So that's kind of my take on like 2022 Bakugan. It's the same as 2021. You just need to be more aware of pricing and understand why price gouging is happening and how to avoid it. So I know that was a long tangent, but I feel like I needed to, make a video on it just to let everyone be aware. If you haven't been aware already, between my friends telling me and, people in my various Discord chats, all that good stuff, people online, I feel like it needed to be said. So I'm totally open to discussion on this. I'd love to see what you guys have to say in the comments below. So let's start a discussion. Let's talk about it. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.